meeting is being recorded.
Okay, well, welcome in Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. This is the Jackie Robinson edition, episode 42. It's September 22nd, 2022. There's a lot of twos there, but it's all right. We have a third guy here today. I haven't heard or seen from him in a couple of weeks. Grant, I don't even know if you know who this guy is. I'm confused. He just kind of joined our chat. Is it? Or wait. Oh no, that's Ethan. Ethan, welcome back.
Oh, hi guys. I'm here.
What a guy.
Well, it's good.
I should get claps. I'm the best.
Boo. I can find it here.
Yeah, here comes the boo. Bring it on. Bring it on.
No.
This is embarrassing.
Well,
anyone have the Price is Right music or Jeopardy music?
No, I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Maybe someday. But
we'll get there.
But we're going to be recapping week 3 of college football, week 2 of the NFL, previewing week 3 of the NFL, week 4 of college football, and whatever else comes. Grant was got to go see a college game over the weekend. Michigan took care of business. Gophers are rolling. Iowa got the win and covered. And Penn State might be for real. NDSU had a heartbreaker, but they'll be all right. And, well, two-thirds of our NFL teams won. Thanks a lot, Ethan. There's those boos.
Now you just sound like a Philly fan. We don't like them people.
But the biggest news of the weekend in the NFL was I went 6-6 on my gambling picks, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But
6 is only 500.
I went 6-4-6.
6-4. I thought you said 6 and 6. I was like, that's not something.
No. We 6-4-6. Bet
gotcha.
1,000
that
for
makes
the
more
week.
sense.
Yeah,
okay.
It was. I wouldn't brag about going. Well, even 500. It's not bad. Yeah. Well, I just kept looking at the board. I'm like, I like that. Before you knew it, I had 6. Actually, I had 5, and then I saw it. I guess we'll just start there. Was first pick I had was Cardinals plus 5.5 versus the Raiders. I didn't think the Raiders, they're good enough on the line. I didn't think they were good enough to pull away. I'm not a huge Cardinals fan, but I like the Cardinals. I thought they were going to be able to move the ball, and I ended up having to sweat it out. And then I was rooting for that 2-point conversion to not go in at the end for the Cardinals, just so that way it was done over with. But then I had to sweat out overtime. Luckily, they got a scoop and score. Grant went home happy. The Raiders lost. And then I normally don't bet on my teams, but I went Cowboys plus 7.5. I didn't think the Bengals offensive line was good enough. I thought the Cowboys defense was legit. They were going to make Joe Burrow uncomfortable. They ended up winning. I thought for sure Brett Maher missed that kick right away. And then the next thing I hear is Jim Nantz yelling, it's good. Good news there. And then Packers minus 10 versus the Bears. The Bears got lucky in week 1. They were never going to move the ball against the Packers. The Packers were going to commit to the run game and just gashed them. And Aaron Rodgers continued the reign of being Chicago's dad and owning the city and the $663 billion in debt they are. So how he's going to repay that, get that paid back, we'll figure out at some point. And then Lions on straight up on the Commanders. There was actually an even line, so I just went money line. Lions took care of business, got that first win of the year. They looked really good running the ball. Commanders defense is hot garbage. And then Jaguars, Colts. The Jaguars have not lost to the Colts in Jacksonville since 2014. And I think the Colts, I saw a stat that's in that reign or I can't remember how far dating back it was, but they've been shut out like 3 times in however many years. All 3 have come in Jacksonville.
3 times since 2017.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
That's what it was. Yep. So in the years 2017, 2018, and 2022, the Jags have shut the Colts out in Jacksonville.
I guess they were good 17-18, weren't they?
Yeah, because you remember, 17 was the AFC title.
Yep.
Yeah, that's when they lost. Should have beat the Patriots.
18 was the year when people were like, damn, Jacksonville's going to be legit back-to-back, and they just after they beat the Patriots in week 2, the wheels fell off the wagon, and they imploded, like Ethan just gave.
Yeah.
That hand gesture, and it's been pear-shaped in Duval County ever since then.
Yeah, and then I wasn't going to do it, and then I was listening to VSiN with Brent Musburger, and can't remember, he had one of his guests on his show, and they were talking about how it was going to be another monsoon, rainy, ugly, crappy game out, or crappy weather out in San Francisco. Neither offense is going to wow you. And the under was 39.5. So I hit on that. Unfortunately, Trey Lance gets hurt, but that final score was 27-7. So cashed in there. So six for 6 on the week. Our TikTok account, guys, gained like 25 followers. So hopefully that'll help out. We'll gain some more viewership on this. So thank you guys for listening. If you're new to the podcast,
you make some people money and they want to watch.
Well, there was one guy who commented on there. He's like, I wish I would have seen this before all the games were over, before I lost all my picks. But
just trust this rando on a website. Screw it. What could go wrong?
Hey, I had the NFL Fox. I believe it was the NFL Fox music in the background, just in the notes app. Let's roll with it. Hey, it worked out. So post picks later on in the week, but we'll move over. We'll discuss some games. We'll start on Monday night. The Vikings. Well, that did not go as planned. Philly is always a tough place to play. 7-24 was the final score. Eagles won. That game fell after that opening drive the Eagles had. It felt like Minnesota was going to have to play flawless for them to even have a shot.
Yeah, it was just a weird game. Like, the defense in the second half gave them opportunities. They started 3 times inside the 30, Eagles 30, 0 points to show for it. Like, that's just insane to me, which is so weird. But I don't know. KOC will get them going. They'll be fine.
Well, and this is just kind of me, boys, but I'm not saying that KOC and this coaching staff wanted to lose this game on purpose. I'm not saying they threw the towel in, but this game plan looked very flat and very boring. I almost wonder if they needed some coaching moments to come out of this game, after training camp and a good week 1 when you beat the Packers 23-7, where they sat back and they said, hey, you know what? We're just going to sit back here, do some basics. We're on the road, tough environment in Philly. This team needs a reason to tell him, hey, you're not as good as you thought you were. And now we have some coaching moments going into Detroit, but it's just kind of a weird game, a flat game. The Eagles looked like they wanted to come out and put some hurt on the Vikings. And the Vikings, they just looked happy to be there, knowing on Tuesday they're going to collect the game check. So I don't know what to say.
I liked what Paul Allen was talking about yesterday morning. He was saying he came on for like an hour on his show since they probably got back so late. And I mean, let the dude sleep for a bit. But he was saying the Eagles basically just dropped their linebackers into the zones that Jefferson likes to go to. And Cousins was basically just forcing them into it no matter what, not looking around at the other guys until like the last possession when they started moving the ball, basically, but it was over, obviously. So I thought that was an interesting way to look at it. So I think it's more so Kirk just kind of needs to maybe not give 15, 12 targets a game to JJ and more so spread it out. So that's just kind of what PA was saying.
Well, another thing I noticed is week 1, you put JJ in motion so many times to, get that advantage and kind of manipulate what the defense is going to do. He was standard, he's stationary, excuse me.
Yeah.
Most of the night on Monday night, you didn't have him, going in motion like that first touchdown he scored against Green Bay. And even when Jalen Reagor, when he had that nice end run that was in motion there. So I was just curious on why KOC and that offensive staff didn't implement more in this game plan. Because if they are trying to be the Rams in the Midwest, McVay's got dudes, and even Shanahan there in San Francisco, they got guys going in motion 50% of each play. So I wish I could be on a fly on the wall for that offensive staff meeting and see why they didn't do that as much in week 2.
Well, and the other part about it too is I'm looking at the stats now and I noticed it right away. They did not commit to the run. They only ran the ball 11 times. And even in those opening drives when it was still 7-0, 14-0. They just didn't seem interested in running the ball at all either. So I think they need to get back to running the ball more, having that as a more focal point of the offense. It's not like they have scrubs as running backs. Cook and Alexander Mattison is as good of a 1-2 punch you're going to get in the NFL. And Kirk Cousins doesn't need to be throwing the ball 46 times. I think they should try to be a little bit more 50-50 in that sense too. I think that also affected it too, where Eagles knew they were going to be passing, so they sold out on it. And the Vikings just refused to run the ball.
Well, then I also saw, guys, a stat week 1 for the Eagles rush defense. When Jordan Davis was playing, the first rounder out of Georgia, they only gave up 1.8 yards a rush. When he was off the field, they gave up over 10 yards a rush. So maybe seeing that, the Vikings implemented a game plan like Dallas had the first game against Tampa Bay in 2021. Well, if Jordan Davis is going to be out there, we're not going to beat our head against a concrete wall and try to run against this dude, especially when you have Bradbury and your rookie Ingram. Ingram, he was good in the rush against, Green Bay in week 1, but going up against Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis, maybe they thought, you know what, this is a disadvantage we have. We like Kirk throwing, and that's why they this game plan specific was just airing it out so much like they did.
Yeah, could be. I still think that to give yourself a shot, I think you still have to establish some type of run or be effective enough to where you can respect it, especially in the Vikings offense where they thrive so much off of play action. And another thing, before we'll wrap and we'll move on to another game, was that Irv Smith drop was huge. That I think because the Vikings were moving the ball there and they felt like they had a little bit of momentum there because they just scored, then they got a stop, so it was 7-14, and then Irv Smith
21-7, wasn't it?
21-7.
Or it was,
yeah,
okay.
It was
21-7.
But he catches that, he walks in, it's 21-14.
That throw was ridiculous.
Yeah. And he should not be he should be forced to give up his 84 number after that drop.
Right.
Well, they shouldn't have given it to him in the first place. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't care if Randy signed off on that. You shouldn't let anyone wear that number.
Did he sign off on it?
Randy did.
Retire the damn number.
Yeah, exactly.
Stupid.
But yeah, because then to your point, Dylan, you get that touchdown. Irv walks into the end zone. You get a stop. You get the ball to start the second half.
Yeah.
Totally different game. You score 14 points there and win the middle 8. It's a different game.
Well, and that's the best time to score too, is because right after halftime, where fans are still, because it's short half times where it's only 12 minutes. So
12 minutes.
There's a lot of fans are going to get beer, food, everything. So the stadium is about as quiet as it'll be all night before people start showing up. So that's the best time. You don't have to worry about going on a silent count. It's going to be quieter, and you don't have that extra factor. But they'll learn from it. Go ahead.
Can we also just say, how does Boyd not outrun the holder on that block punt?
Was it a block field goal?
It was,
block field goal, whatever it was. Block field goal, my bad.
Yeah, no. Because
How does he not outrun the holder?
It's one of those things where you get so much momentum going forward, picking it up, you lose your balance.
But he ran for 20 yards before the guy tackled him.
And it's one of those where why don't you start running sideways so the punter just can't run in a straight line at you? Make him go back and forth a little bit too, and then eventually you're just about and you should pull away and get 6.
Yeah. Well, they got the Lions this week. We'll talk about that as the episode progresses. We'll move over. Cowboys-Bengals. Cowboys got their first win of the year, 2017. The Bengals, I think their lack of playing in the preseason is really showing. They have Joe Burrow all sorts. There was a clip where you could see Joe Burrow saying no empty sets, and they actually listened and they put Joe Mixon into pass block. Dallas D-line did a really good job of keeping him uncomfortable all afternoon. Out the offense, Cooper Rush looked good. He didn't do anything that lost the game. Still, after that first first 2 drives after the script wore off, they really didn't do anything. They're able to move the ball to get them in field position to kick the game-winning field goal. But the Bengals need to get that O-line fixed, and I think most of it is just them playing together and getting comfortable. Because I think there's talent on that O-line, whether Collins, Volson, Kappa, Jonah Williams. There's talent, and I'm missing one of the center whose name escapes me, but there's talent there. But when you don't have chemistry is the biggest thing on the offensive line. If those front 5 guys have chemistry and know what they're doing and are all in sync, it's hard. It's hard to get a pass rush, and that goes down to coaching. Is you need to play those guys in the preseason, I think.
Yeah, but then also let's not forget the fact that that's also on some of these players too, with their communication pre-snap and knowing if it's if Joe's going on a 3-step drop, a 5-step drop, a 7-step drop, they need to know what the protection calls for, and they need to be properly, maybe sliding a protection this way. Where if you have Micah Parsons, rushing your right tackle, if he's playing left end, you probably need to slide everyone, including your center, over to the right, and then chip him with the tight end or with your running back. So I still think these Bengals, they have some learning to do on this playbook, and these offensive linemen don't truly understand the protections yet, and they aren't communicating properly on who needs to take who. And then also, there's a couple times on Sunday, Lael Collins just looked lost. With poor technique, Micah was rushing him, and his left shoulder was facing the sidelines. As a right tackle, you're just giving up the inside, and Parsons rushes inside, throws him like a rag doll, and gets to Burrow. That's just laziness on your player right there. And Dylan, you're right. It's lack of playing in the preseason, but then also Joe Burrow got his appendix taken out and missed like 9 days of training camp this year. So he's a week and a half behind everyone else too. So I think this is catching up to these Bengals. And, some of the breaks they caught last year towards the end of the regular season in the playoffs, they're not going their way right now. And, they're in a little 2-game slide to start the season.
Well, and the other part too is Joe Burrow, this isn't all on the offensive line either. Joe Burrow has to learn to get rid of the ball. He holds onto the ball for way too long. The NFL is a league and if it continues down this path, and I hope it doesn't, because he's one of the most exciting players in football and he's young. But if he's already had a torn ACL. If he doesn't learn to get rid of the ball, the NFL is the most humbling league there is. And if he doesn't learn to get rid of the ball and just learn it's a throwaway isn't a bad play.
Mm-hmm.
If he's able to learn that, he's going to keep himself healthy and upright and have a long career in this league. But he hasn't learned that yet. And another thing too is that I think Dallas's D deserves credit. They have good pass rush with Micah Parsons is emerging as possibly an early favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. Guy's been an absolute animal this year so far. And the other thing that's not getting talked about enough is the improvement in their interior D linemen, whether it be Dorrance Armstrong or the Diggy Zua. And Dallas has a plethora, a lot of, yeah, words are tough sometimes. Thank you, Ethan. That's why you went to grad school.
Bush Light.
And they have depth at the edge DN position, whether it be Anthony Barr, DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, who we just talked about, and then Dante Fowler Jr. too. That's 4 guys that you can rotate, keep them fresh, and especially when it's third down and it is obvious passing situations, all those guys have to worry about is just getting after the quarterback, and especially if their interior D line's getting pressure where there's no one for the quarterback to step up, it makes that quarterback's life and the offense's job a living hell. And Trevon Diggs had the play of the game on that third down stop that gave them Dallas the ball back at the end, where if he doesn't make that play, either the Bengals go 2-minute hurry up and go down and score, or it goes to overtime, and who knows what happens in overtime. So Trevon Diggs played a great game too, and this is the best I've seen Leighton Vander Esch play as well. So I might be on board again just because this defense is as good as they're playing. They got the Giants this week. We'll see. They're 2-0, but I think they're not as good as what their record says there is. Dak, they say, could be back against Washington, but I don't. After you have surgery to repair a broken thumb on your throwing hand, that's not something you rush back from. Look at what happened to Russell Wilson last year. But I think this defense is going to keep them in a lot of games, and as long as Cooper Rush doesn't lose them games and they commit more to the run game, I don't see why the Cowboys can't be competing for at least a wild card spot. Because right now the Eagles just look far and away the best team in the East, and it's not even close.
Uh-huh. They look like the best in the NFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah, Ethan, you're spot on. There's no other real team in the NFC right now where you look at them and say, it's 2 weeks, but they've played as well as them, and I trust them at the moment. But yeah, Dylan, you're right. This Dallas team for these next, probably 3 to 4 weeks, you're going to have to play stout defense, and as long as Cooper Rush doesn't lose you the game, that's the big thing. He can't. If he has a game where he's got a turnover or two, I have a hard time believing Dallas is going to win that game. And then also, it's nice to see Tony Pollard have that 56-yard rush.
Yep,
that was a touchdown, and they reviewed it, and he was able to punch it in with that. So maybe that'll give this coaching staff, a dose of reality that's needed, that says, hey, we got to get Tony Pollard the ball, because when he has the ball, good things happen. And we need to put this $96 million contract to the side and say, we don't have the skilled players we had last year. A couple guys are still hurt. We need to get our good athletes the ball, and good things will happen.
Well, and Michael Gallup is possibly coming back this week due to them playing on Monday night. Mm-hmm. So some reasons for optimism there. Give him another weapon. And even the rookie, Jake Ferguson out of Wisconsin, has looked really good this year so far, which is good to see because Schultz might be out as well. So I'm not holding my
fingers.
No, that's not. That's
Fumagalli.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was the one before him. Ferguson's Barry Alvarez's grandson.
Grandson, yep.
And we'll move over. This game happened on Thursday night, first Amazon Prime night. Kirk Herbstreit's and Al Michaels, which is a dynamic duo, calling a game. Chiefs-Chargers. Chiefs were able to get a win, 27-24. It was a back-and-forth game. When those two teams are playing, it's going to be a heck of a game. It's going to be a back-and-forth. It's going to be a bit of a rock fight. And Chiefs ended up on top. Grant, what were your thoughts? Since this is your team.
First off, anytime the Chiefs play a divisional opponent on a Thursday night, I'm nervous.
Well, why is that? Why? Nothing weird happens on a Thursday
They
night.
have lost
in Arrowhead.
One heartbreaker to every divisional opponent on a Thursday night. 2 in Arrowhead and then 1 in Oakland before the Raiders moved. And then even, last year's game against the Chargers, that overtime game where if Brandon Staley kicks 1 field goal, the Chargers win that game. And, Patrick, when he dislocated his kneecap a couple years ago, that happened also on a Thursday night. So, Thursday night, Kansas City, it's usually a recipe for disaster. But this was a good game. And, the biggest takeaway from this game for me is once it's just the classic Andy Reid team. They're not going to give up and they're not going to flinch. They took the Chargers' best shot. The Chargers were bringing pressure up the middle and from their linebackers all night because they knew they had to get to Mahomes. And they were playing some press coverage, and they were not going to let the Chiefs beat them deep, kind of like what teams did last year. And give the Chiefs corners some credit. For the most part, they tried to lock up Mike Williams all night, and he just made some unbelievable catches. And Herbert put that ball right where it needed to be. So sometimes there's just nothing you can do as a defender. But you know what? This team, they just didn't give up, and they made the plays when they needed to. Watson with the 99, the 7th rounder, with the 99-yard pick six. And then also a free agent signing this offseason from Tampa Bay, with the big 50-yarder there to take the lead. To get to 17-14 and to think, hey, this team's back in it. They're going to get a stop here. So just the fact that they don't give up. They're not going to fold. And, it was great to see that. And also Chris Jones took the game over on the inside. You were kind of last year during the playoffs, people were like, oh, where'd Chris go? We hadn't seen much from him, last in the AFC title game. He had constant pressure on Burrow, but always ran past him, never held contain. He kind of took that game over on the inside, and this team didn't fold. They didn't quit with a lot of injuries going into the week, and it's only going to build confidence going into the year that this young, inexperienced team is just not going to quit, and they're going to be able to beat anyone they play. At least they think they'll be able to.
Yeah. And yeah, they look good. I didn't get to watch most of it. We had a varsity game I was coaching at, and I got back right as the Chiefs were driving. The first play I saw was when Derwin James just body slammed Travis Kelce onto the Arrowhead turf, and then they didn't get in. So that would have made it 17-17, right? Yeah.
That would have made it 21-17. Because it was 17-14 at the time.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
And then the field goal after that made it 17-17.
Okay. Yeah. And then I watched the Chargers drive down, and Everett was gassed, and they had him go in. He thought he was going to go in. Herbert threw it outside, and that was the difference in the game. It was, and then the Chargers couldn't stop the Kansas City offense.
Yeah, and Hilaire had that nice 50-yard run where nobody touched him, and that set the game up for that 27-17 field goal that essentially iced it, because then the Chargers were down 2 scores there, and that was the one weird play where all night you're like, what is the Chargers defense doing not tackling Hilaire? And 2, he's 20 yards down the field and he has both hands on the football trying not to get stripped. It's like, if you put that football in your right hand because you're on the right sideline and you kick it in a high gear, you might score a touchdown. So that was just kind of one of those weird plays right there. But kind of, if you're a Chargers fan's sake, just unfortunate way for them is them just losing a game like this. It's just seems that's what the Chargers do. They were the better team for most of the game, but the Chiefs just made a couple more plays, and that took them over the edge. And the ironic part, Dylan, we talked before the season, would J.C. Jackson be that guy away from Bill Belichick? Well, he gave up the 56-yarder that turned out to really change that game, because then it got most importantly, it got the crowd back into it. The Arrowhead faithful, and they were loud and they were passionate all night, and it was enough for a good Chiefs win to get up 2-0 on there.
Yeah, and it was a great game. It was a great way to break out the Herb Street and Al Michaels duo calling a game. What did you guys think of the Amazon Prime setup?
It was fine.
I was watching with some buddies, and his parents came over, and we said it looked like some of the clearest picture that we've seen. Like the high definition looked better than anything we've ever seen before. Just a great picture all night. And I thought the broadcast was good. The pregame was great. The halftime did good. So Amazon, they found something. I think the NFL they're gonna love having them as a partner this year.
Was your guys' was the voice ahead of the action? Because there were a couple of times where I was doing something in my house and I look up and it's like caught, and as he said caught, he was actually just catching it.
I'm sure that's happening with streaming. I didn't notice it. I'm sure it is.
But then when they were doing the post game show, you could tell that the voice was behind the lips. It was a little bit delayed. Maybe it was just mine, but I don't. That would probably be my only complaint. But because anytime Herb Street and Al Michaels are doing a game, even if they're not together, it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, Dylan, I caught up on that too. And it was the one I caught it right away was Watson's pick 6.
Oh, okay.
Because Herbert goes back, he goes, oh, and it's picked off, and the ball hadn't even been snapped yet. And I was like, that's weird. So then I kind of caught that the rest of the game, and it was all, like you said, it was about a half a second to a second ahead. So you could almost tell if it was going to be a good play or a bad play right from the snap.
Oh, okay.
Just because I caught it right away, and who knows, maybe it's because the Chiefs were playing and I was more tuned in on the game. But yeah, that is one thing I noticed.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other games you guys want to talk about? The Russell Wilson's home opener didn't go quite as planned. That guy just gets more and more unlikable. I used to like him, but now he's just all about. He's really showing his true colors. He doesn't care about the team. He's all about Russell Wilson. Like, again, the opener against the Seahawks, he's telling the defense to yell, or the guys on the sidelines to yell, run or pass. This isn't Pop Warner Junior League, guys. This is the NFL. If cornerbacks or safeties, linebackers, or anybody on the field can't figure out run or pass, they should be talking on a podcast like us. And then in his post-game interview, he's talking about this new recovery thing he's got, how he's glad that he's able to recover the right way and get the right whatever. And it's like, and you wonder why Seattle wanted to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm. But for me, it was Baltimore just imploding in the fourth quarter. And, not only letting the Dolphins, come back, but the way they let them score when 2 of those 3 touchdowns were just major miscommunications, and Tua was thrown to wide open receivers. Where, I'm watching the replay last night on NFL Network, and when Lamar goes for a 79-yard touchdown, it's 35-14. It's like, well, this game's on ice. And then the next touchdown, the Dolphins needed to have was like a 6-minute drive, and you're thinking, okay, well, you know what? The Ravens might give up a couple of scores here, but it's going to take the Dolphins a long way to go down this field, 6-7 minute drives. They're not going to be able to do it. But John Harbaugh was bit by the analytics once again. It was a fourth and 1 in his own territory. He goes for it. The Ravens don't get it. And then turnover, Dolphins quick strike. And before you know it, it's a 7-point game, and Baltimore is just shook. And now it's like, this is a game here. The Ravens don't do anything on offense, and they decide not to cover Jalen Waddle down the sideline, which is a bad idea. And before you know it, it's a tie game, and the Dolphins pull out, and they're 2-0 on the young season.
Yeah, well, it looked like Tua was back at Alabama again with those guys he's throwing to. His old teammate in Waddle, and then Tyreek Hill, which that's a guy that you have to know where he is on the field at all times. And it's amazing how many times people forget about him on the field, where he's just running wide open free and then giving the peace sign as he's going into the end zone.
I mean, for every road game the Dolphins play this year, this is how it should go. Tyreek, as soon as he gets off the bus to the stadium, they should double team him.
Yeah.
2 security guards should be on him, walking him into his locker room. And as soon as he gets onto the field, there's always 2 either security members, local police, players, coaches. I don't care. We're double teaming this guy off the bus.
Yeah. And it was phenomenal game. And then another one too was Jets-Browns. Browns gave away a 2-touchdown lead in the final 2 minutes. You let Corey Davis run by you, and then elite Joe Flacco shows up. People want to knock on Nick Chubb for going for 2, but it makes it a 2-score game. The chances of that happening, unless you just there's an absolute brain fart. And well, there was an absolute brain fart. And then they missed the PAT after his kick or after his run. And if he makes that, it's 31-31 and it goes to overtime, and who knows what happens. But as much as Grant, you and I, we talked about how there wasn't a lot of exciting games. There was a lot of excitement that went on this week.
A lot of exciting finishes. Yep.
Yep. Whether it be Cardinals, Raiders, even the Falcons almost came back from a 28-3 lead. And then Patriots Steelers was an okay game that came down to the wire. There was a huge fight in Bucks Saints. But yeah, overall it was a fun week. Red Zone, the witching hour was incredible on Sunday. Hopefully we can get another one, but we'll move over to college football. And Grant, you were at a college football game this week. What were your takeaways of Minnesota and Colorado?
So it felt good again to be back into, back at the stadium, being around, the college campus, the band, the tailgate, the fans going in before, it was a great atmosphere. It was fun to be around, going into it. I kind of thought it would be a drubbing, and, it was a drubbing. The Gophers, they came in, and they did what they were supposed to do. They beat that ass on a bad football team. First drive, 7 plays, 75 yards down the field, like it was no one's business. And then to set the play for the Gophers defense, the first play of the game, corner comes off the edge, hits the quarterback, fumble. The Gophers pick up the ball. Mo scores on the next play. And with 9.5 minutes left in the first quarter, it's 14-rip. And, this game is over. And then, they go, they dominated the line of scrimmage, but then also, it was nice to see a couple long touchdown passes. Chris Altman-Bell, he had a nice 36-yarder before he got hurt, unfortunately. And then, Tanner had another touchdown in the second half here. But, that's kind of the one bummer on Saturday's game is the Gophers are going for a score before halftime. And unfortunately, just one bad step, and Chris, he hurt his knee, I believe, and unfortunately, he's out for the season. So you never. And that's the one thing you didn't want to have happen at the end of the half.
Might get a 7th year though.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. With that medical red shirt,
played 3 games.
Yep. See, you never want to see a player get hurt with that, but. The Gophers, they came in, they knew what they were supposed to do, and they did it. And, they whooped that ass. And it was a hot day. It was like 85 degrees. The sun was right in our face. So all in all, it was a good time. And like I said, they came in and did what they were supposed to do.
What was the crowd like? Was it pretty full there, or was it?
I think it was about 85%.
Okay.
Across for, the whole game. The student section was probably about 90% full in the first half.
Okay.
And then when it's 35 rip going into half, the kids they left and they wanted to go home and continue their drinking throughout the weekend there. But for a beautiful fall Saturday, in Minnesota, about 85% full. The crowd was into it. They were loud. They were excited. And I think, they're going to get behind this team this year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good. I think that's it's going to be a Minnesota right now. Still looks like by far the best team in the Big Ten West for sure. And mine and Ethan's prediction of them winning the West is looking pretty good right now. What do you say? Did you get a chance to watch it, Ethan?
I did watch it. I watched it at work, so I didn't get to see a ton of it, but I did see most of the first half. I stopped kind of watching the second half because honestly, it wasn't even a game at that point anymore. The backups were even moving down the field on Colorado. So like how Colorado's fallen off so far is kind of astonishing to me. They've never been like a super great program the last 10 years, but they've always kind of been a solid middle of the pack team in the Pac-12. I mean, my God, they'll be lucky if they win a game this year. They were.
I don't think awesome. They're not going to win a game, guys. I mean,
no, they were terrible. Hiring Mike Sanford, I don't really get it. The dude is awful at his job. So, I mean, that didn't help him at all. But their team just lacks any sort of talent whatsoever.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, guys, our seats were on the Colorado bench. They didn't look excited to be there. They had the look of a team who knew they were going to get throttled. And, it showed. like I said, 75 yards in the first drive, strip sack on the first offensive play. It was just kind of like, oh, well, we're here. We're hot. We're getting our ass kicked. Can we go home?
Yeah.
Well, their AD released a statement about how
I've never seen that before.
But he didn't fire him. Yeah. So, I mean, he didn't get Herm Edwards.
Did Mel Tucker leave it that bare when he left, or what the hell happened?
Well, Mel Tucker wasn't there long enough.
He was only there a year.
He was only there a year. And then COVID, he got hired like in the midst of COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that doesn't help either. So we'll see. I mean, that's put in a tough spot, and then clearly have not hit well in the transfer portal either.
Yeah.
And but they're in a good recruiting base area, and it's
Arizona, California
looks like a beautiful campus. Like, I don't understand how they can't, but maybe, I don't know.
Well, here's a question here. Who is the best Colorado Buffalo player in the NFL?
Right now?
Right now,
you could probably say Jimmy Smith or Chidobe Awuzie, both corners.
Okay, I mean,
but not household names, no.
But you get what I'm saying? You're not putting dudes in the league. You're gonna have a hard time getting these recruits and these transfers to go there because they were playing the Gophers. If I'm PJ Fleck, I can say Corey Davis, Tyler Johnson, and Rashad Bateman, who had over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns on Sunday, or a touchdown. Mm-hmm. I put those dudes in the NFL. That's why PJ is going to get receivers to come to Minnesota, and he's going to get Mo in there. And with how big and physical this offensive line is, in the next two years, you're going to have names in the NFL who said
guys back in the NFL.
Antoine Winfield Jr., who say, I went to Minnesota. So that's all it's going to come down to for these college coaches now. It's just, if you can't put players in the league, you're going to have a hard time keeping a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And move over to another team that breezed to an easy win. Michigan took care of UConn 59-0. Blake Corum had 5 TDs. AJ Henning had a punt return touchdown. JJ McCarthy looked good again. And there wasn't a whole lot. Michigan jumped on them early, took care of business. UConn, not great either.
Why do they have a football team? Just put the money towards women's and men's basketball at this point.
I agree.
Because I guarantee you, awful. I wouldn't be shocked that I bet you the football program still makes more, or just about just as much.
No way.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
They have shit revenue stream from the Big East. There's no way.
Well, it could be. I don't know.
Oh, aren't they?
What's that? What was that?
Aren't they in the American?
Or the American for football, I guess. Yeah, whatever. But no, there's no way. Those bad. Like, I want to say their women's team's like one of the few schools that actually makes money. I don't even know if UConn football makes money. There's no way they have 50,000 fans at that game.
I don't think they do.
Let's see here.
There's no way.
I mean, there are Power 5 schools who don't even bring in the green for football each year.
Yeah. Well, so their entire athletic department operated at a $47.2 million deficit for the 2021 fiscal year. And this article is from CT Insider. Let's see here. And they also canceled the 2020 football season. Remember, 2020 national champs because they didn't play. And then let's see here.
They probably saved money canceling the season.
They've been running at a $40 million deficit the past 5 years. This article says.
That's unbelievable. Football doesn't make money. That's literally the main reason, probably.
Could be. Still trying to look here, but one of the things that blew my mind is that like Kentucky football, and this was before Mark Stoops got there, was still making more money. Bringing in more money than the basketball team was.
And honestly, a lot of that's probably, it's like they get some money from Obviously, like it's all one big thing from the SEC network and just their media deals. But that's all SEC football money coming in on that. That's the reason they're paying so much damn money to these schools is because of that football
for sure.
deal. Like I know it's all sports like completely or whatever, but let's be real. It's all football money coming in. The SEC outside of Alabama, Kentucky, and Auburn is trash at basketball.
Yeah, it's not a good basketball conference at all.
No. So I have the stats here. So it looks like ticket sales accounted for an 8.8 million year-over-year loss of revenue. And then the men's team here, it says, the athletic program made a profit of $883. It doesn't say the year here. I don't know. We'll move on. We've wasted way too much time talking about UConn.
UConn football is irrelevant, and they don't matter.
They always have been.
Yeah, always have been, and always will be.
No.
What year did they play in the Fiesta Bowl? Was it what? Oh, it would have been 10. Yeah, they lost to Central Florida.
Way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they played Oklahoma.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah, they played Oklahoma.
And they got just shit on.
Well, no shit. They played Cincinnati all year. Granted, Cincinnati was good last year.
That was when it was the Big East. That was when Randy Edsall was the coach. They they competed. It just didn't have the athletes Oklahoma had. But
yeah,
Michigan they completed their non-conference schedule 3-0, and they obviously did not play anybody worthwhile. But the good news is, because I've seen this with Michigan teams in the past, is where they've played these cupcakes, and they've let them hang around and keep the game a lot closer than it should be. But this team, they jumped on teams early. They put the game away early in the second quarter. So we'll find out a lot more as the this week when they play Maryland. But
that's the same thing with Minnesota too.
They've
always. I mean, heck, they lost to Bowling Green last year. That, and for the most part, both teams came out pretty damn healthy. I think that's the biggest key. I mean, you lose Bell obviously, but everyone else, same with Michigan. I don't think they've had any big injuries. That's the real kicker out of these non-conference.
Donovan Edwards is dinged up, but he's going to be back. Cade McNamara, they said, is out for a couple of weeks, which hopefully McCarthy does.
Exactly.
If McCarthy gets hurt, though, they don't have anybody behind him, which.
Hey, that's fine. You just run the wishbone the whole time. You just triple option bullshit. Just have some fun.
But yeah, they got through healthy, like you said, Ethan. The Gophers did the same thing, as they didn't let, which they've done in the past, is let those non-conference games, those teams come in and stick around at Huntington Bank Stadium. Did I get that right this time?
Yeah, they can change it.
All right.
It's still the bank, just not the same one.
Okay, close enough. And they jumped on them early, took care of them, and hopefully that carries into the conference play. But we'll got a couple more college games to talk about. Iowa, Nevada. Iowa took care of business, 27-0. Spencer Petras completed a pass on Sunday, which I don't think any Iowa fan or any college football fan, for that matter, thought would ever happen.
Did he complete one over 15 yards?
Maybe. I don't know.
Actually, he did. Yeah, he did. Arlen Bruce had a 21-yard touchdown. I did see that.
Yep.
Grant, are you still a little concerned, though? I mean, I know they put up points. They had 3 offensive touchdowns. But are you still concerned Incarnate Word put up 55 on these guys and they can only put up 27?
Absolutely.
It still seems mind-boggling to me.
I mean, it's not good. I mean, I don't, lightning delay or not, it's like there was still, multiple drives where they look like they haven't practiced football, in a long time, and a third and one, you can't get a first down on that. It was nice to see the offense finally take a couple deep shots. There was one where Petras put it there, the receiver dropped it. Another one where the pass was a little bit to his right, so the receiver would have had to adjust to it a little bit. there, but still not getting enough of those deep shots that you need to, win games when the schedule gets tough, which is, starting now, at Rutgers Saturday night to open up Big Ten play.
I heard a great slogan about that game this Saturday. It's the Punt Bowl.
Well, yeah, because Rutgers has one scholarship quarterback. Rutgers has one scholarship quarterback on its roster. This is the first time I was going to play on the road this year against a rush defense that gives up 1.8 yards a carry in Rutgers.
You know what the total for that game is?
Oh,
37 or something.
34 and a half. It was down.
There's no way in hell. It's
Pound
like 10-3, there's going to be 20 punts.
Pound the under. Pound it.
Folks. The fact that that's that high is concerning for Vegas. They must know something.
Yeah. Well, that was.
Well, Keegan Johnson didn't practice again today, Grant.
I heard about that.
So,
but yeah, and when I saw he, just didn't look like him after that first drive when he got tackled a couple of times. You saw him kind of on the sideline, grimacing a little bit, and you're just like, I don't know, that looks less than ideal. He's back on the field, but he's still hurt a little bit. So he's not himself. But for the offense's sake, it was nice to kind of get him and Organic back because they finally, schematically were sending guys in motion. And you're spreading the field a little bit where you're not just log jamming everybody. Like these first 2 weeks when you have, 8-9 people within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage and you're trying to run the ball, you're just going to pound your head against a concrete wall, and which I don't understand why they're doing that. So they're trying to be a little more creative and a little more open with that. So it was nice to see. But then also, to get to Caleb Williams, the freshman running back, just to get the athletes that you have on your roster, just get them the ball in space and, good things happen.
Johnson.
What was that?
Caleb Johnson.
Yes. Yep. Just get him the ball in space, and he's able to have 2 nice long touchdowns. I think one was a 40-yarder and another one was a 53-yarder. So it was just, we'll take the small progress steps when we can get them, each week, even if it's against an awful Nevada team. And, they had to sit through 3 different lightning delays in the game. Total time was 6 hours and 59 minutes. Cool. So, but hey, we'll see on Saturday. When you go on the road, play your first road game against a tough Rutgers team with Greg Shadow's your head coach. And, maybe they can get a little more momentum going into the Big Ten play and try to be competitive in some games. And who knows, maybe they won't. They'll fall on their face, and it could be a tough year watching. We'll see Saturday.
Who does Michigan have first? Oh, you said Maryland.
Yeah. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But NDSU played Arizona, another late game, which actually ended before the Iowa-Nevada game. I think when that game got over, they were just getting ready to restart play. But NDSU lost 31-28. NDSU, they just had too many mistakes. They had a red zone turnover. They had some penalties that extended some Arizona drives. Arizona looks much improved. They had some really good weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Delora looks like a heck of a quarterback. They got some really good receivers. Jed Fish might have something going over there, but they had a turnover in the red zone where it felt like NDSU kind of had Arizona on the heels. Then Arizona goes down and scores, and NDSU gashed them for almost 300 yards rushing. But in the end, Arizona made the plays when they had to, and NDSU couldn't get the ball back. So, and NDSU is going to be fine. There was a 4th and 2 when they were up 28-24 late or about middle of the 4th, and it felt like one of those vintage NDSU drives where they go on, where it takes up 8 minutes of the clock. They just kept running, and running the ball down their opponent's throat. It got to a 3rd and 2. They couldn't get it. They bring in Cole Payton to try and get it, and they were at the Arizona 30, and this is where we've talked about on this podcast before the lack of a kicker they trust bit them in the butt, because if they have a reliable kicker there, I think they kick that field goal. They go up 31-24, which makes it a touchdown game. So at worst, even if Arizona scores, it's 31-31. But they didn't. And then Cole Payton, I thought it was a good play call. And if you look at the right angle, he had a little bit of a hole there, but he missed it. It's his first time seeing real extensive action. He'll see it, he'll learn from it, he'll improve, and it'll pay off down the line. But NDSU, they lose their first FBS game since 2009 against Iowa State.
No kidding.
Yep. And then they go to Colorado in 2024, and then Oregon in, I think it's like 2028, maybe, from the COVID game.
Yeah, it's a while back now.
You wonder though, with this whole conference realignment things, and with the extended playoff, are they gonna cancel these games against FCS teams? Or since there's now potentially room for 12 teams, you can play, these Power 5 schools can play FCS teams with no, knock against them on their schedule, since it's not a 4-team schedule or 4-team playoff.
Yeah, it could be. And who knows, depending on what happens, like if the Power 5 breaks off, I would expect somehow NDSU to jump into that next level. And that would help them stay within those games and help them get better games as well.
True.
Because I think NDSU, they are very determined to try to find a way to get to the FBS play, or get to the FBS now. But we'll move over to do you guys have any other college games you want to talk about?
I got nothing.
No,
last weekend was kind of a dud for most games. Nothing too exciting, nothing too crazy going on.
No, that App State Troy game was a pretty good one.
Oh yeah, that Hail Mary at the end was just absolutely crazy. Because I think he catches it at the 5, and he found his way into the end zone.
Southern Illinois beat Northwestern. There wasn't a whole lot. Oklahoma, Nebraska was over at halftime.
I will say that about that Oklahoma team, the Big 12 for these next 2 years is in trouble.
Yes.
Because what Brent Venables is doing right now is scary, and it's only going to get better because look at all these Clemson defensive players in the NFL. He's now going to go to living rooms across America and say, I put those guys there. Come play at Oklahoma against, for these next 2 years of conference with not many good offenses, and I'll get you there. So the Big 12's in trouble with Brent Venables as the head coach at Oklahoma.
For sure. And the other part, it just how good, like they kind of like took the reins off. It felt like off their offense, or they let Gabriel give him a little bit more, let him run the ball a little bit more, and they look like a legit playoff team, I think. Mm-hmm. And you knew that Venables was going to get that defense figured out. And I think they've just shown that they're going to be a very disciplined team. They're not going to turn the ball over. They have really good skill guys too, where they can get those explosive plays. Dylan Gabriel looks like the real deal, transfer from Central Florida. And my prediction of them winning the Big 12 looks pretty good right now. So happy there. And then one more before we move over to our college football and NFL previews is Penn State might have found something in Nick Singleton. He was the top running back recruit out of the 2022 class. And if he's able to stay at this level and keep getting better, Penn State looks like a serious threat in the East.
I don't know if I'm ready,
but they didn't look like they were good enough to go up against Ohio State or Michigan.
I'm not ready to say they're a serious contender in the East. I think Ohio State, Michigan, they're going to look at this and they're going to say, Nick Singleton, you're not going to beat us. And Sean Clifford, you're going to have to. And I just don't trust Sean Clifford.
No.
But defense, they got exposed against Purdue. Purdue was able to put up a lot of points against them. And, they're playing an Auburn team who's not that good. And I think they know their head coach is going to get fired here soon. So Penn State, they might be better than what we thought they were. But I don't think they're ready to play against Michigan, Ohio State yet.
Yeah, we'll see. The one good thing that I feel confident about is Michigan has that game at home this year.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when Franklin's had the most successes, when he's had a really good running back with like a Saquon, which basically is the only reason he's still at Penn State. So there's some reasons for a little bit of concern of when they play Penn State, but that's a couple weeks away. Michigan plays Maryland again this weekend. It's the big noon kickoff game on Saturday at 10 Mountain. Michigan's right now is a 16.5-point favorite. It's going to be their, I guess you could say, it'll by far be the best team they've played so far this year. We'll see. They got Talia Tagovailoa at quarterback for Maryland, good receiving core. We'll see if Michigan's D-line is able to get pressure, make it uncomfortable for them. See how these corners are and get where they're getting their first true test of the year as well. But I think this game is close for a half, and I think Michigan goes in at halftime, makes some halftime adjustments, pulls away late in the second half, probably right around that 16.5-point spread. I definitely will not be touching this game, but that's kind of my thoughts on Michigan. We'll see. Hopefully, Cade McNamara can keep improving week to week.
You mean JJ McCarthy?
Yeah, JJ. I'm hoping. What I meant to say was I hope Cade McNamara keeps getting healthy from week to week so we can have him back.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, JJ McCarthy keep improving week to week and take those those right strides. But we'll move. That's about all I have for that one. Minnesota's got their first test. They go on the road to East Lansing. Last time I looked here, and I think
Minnesota's a 3-point favorite.
Okay, that stayed the same then. That's where I had it as when I was making notes yesterday. That's a 1:30 Mountain on Big Ten kickoff. That's going to be interesting. Michigan State coming off an absolute ass kicking by Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And Minnesota, they've got some good receivers. I know that Ottman Bell is still a big loss, but Michigan State's secondary looks like burnt toast. That is something that has not improved. They weren't good on it last year. They did not look, as of now, haven't improved it this year. So this line is very interesting to me. I think this is going to be a really good game. This might be one of the best games in the Big Ten this week.
Yeah, Michigan State opened, I think, as 3-point favorites, and now the line switched all the way to the other side.
Yeah, so it opened on Sunday at Michigan State 3. I looked before I went to bed. It was down to 1.5. I woke up Monday morning. Minnesota was a 1.5-point favorite, and yesterday when I was making notes for the show, it was Minnesota's a 3-point favorite, and that's where it's held since.
Well, Michigan State had a lot of injuries so far. Reed, they're not sure he's going to play. He had a freak injury versus Akron, I guess, where he fell into a bench and cut his back open super deep, so he didn't play last week. Yep. They're not sure if he's going to be back this week. I haven't heard if he's practiced or not. Their D tackle missed last week, their best D tackle, and he supposedly there's no word on if he's going to play or if he's practiced at all. And then their best linebacker and safety are out for the year. So obviously not ideal for them, especially if their D tackle's out with Mo running up the middle. It's a recipe for disaster for them.
Well, and also their first game this year against Western Michigan, that game was close for 2.5 quarters.
They looked awful. Thornton looked terrible.
And the Michigan State offense looked like they hadn't practiced. They were out of sync. And that defense gave up a lot of yards.
Yeah.
And Mel Tucker is known as the defensive coordinator, as a defensive-minded head coach.
He's the secondary coach.
Mm-hmm. And even last year, that Michigan State defense was not that good.
They were the worst Power 5 secondary in football.
They gave up a lot of points to Michigan. Even though they won that game, they gave up like 59 points to Ohio State.
In the first half.
In the first half, Purdue beat them at Purdue. So if I'm Michigan State this week, I know my secondary is awful, but like what Ethan said, if you're missing your D tackle and your best linebacker, you can't let Mo and this Gophers offensive line get going. Because if they do, this game is going to be over early.
And on top of that, they had 12 sacks first 2 games, 0 versus with Washington last week. And that's probably the main reason they beat Central Michigan. They got so many sacks, they put them, or Western Michigan, not Central.
Western Michigan. Yep.
Yeah, but they had got so many sacks, they put them back, they forced fumbles. Like, that was their defense. Like, that literally was it.
Yeah, if you let this Gophers offensive line just weigh on you and start to go heavy, it's going to be a long day at the football field for you.
Yeah.
They're going to slow this game down. They're going to have the ball for 36 minutes, and you're going to get worn out. And eventually these body blows that you take, your ribs are going to break in the third quarter, and then they're going to go for the kill shot.
Yeah. I was talking there. I was kind of reading about one of their writers online, and he was saying that all year they played their corners like 10 yards off.
You can't do that.
If they do that, the RPO, like, they're done. Like, it's over. Like, I mean, obviously they probably won't do that. I don't think they can, but I mean, at the same time, they haven't practiced with the other stuff, like actually pressing and stuff. So I mean, it'll be interesting.
Ethan, you're right on. I was going to say, I know Michigan State hasn't done this, but against this Gophers offense, if I'm an opposing defensive coordinator, I can't put 8 guys in the box because the way the Gophers spread it out. Mm-hmm. I have to put 7 in there, and I have to tell my corners to jam these receivers. Do not give them a free release off this line of scrimmage, because if you do, that RPO game, it's over. These linebackers are going to be sucked in to stop Mo. And then, right now he's receiver 1. He's going to tear you up. And then, the best tight end, and quarterback so far in the Power 5 by Pro Football Talk or Pro Football Focus, You can't give these guys free releases. You're going to have to make them earn it. And I'm not sure Michigan State's going to do that because they don't have the horses.
No, I think Minnesota wins this like 30-17. I don't think it's super close. I think they beat the spread.
Okay, that is some good information, Ethan.
I said Colorado 49-7, so I was damn near right on.
Did you actually?
So I did. I said it at work to my buddy. I said 49-7.
Okay. And then we'll move over. We kind of previewed it a little bit before. Iowa goes to Rutgers. That is 7 Eastern time on FS1. Iowa is a 7.5-point favorite. A night game at Rutgers just sounds awful because there's going to be nobody there. There's going to be no energy.
There might be more Iowa fans there than Rutgers fans.
There might be.
We're going to see so many fun.
It's like it would be like playing Northwestern where there's just nobody there. You have to bring your own energy, and it's just an absolute 1,000% trap game.
Well, yeah, and I think if for Iowa's sake here, they got to try to continue to expand on this offense like they did last week. It's going to be a grind all season. And Dylan, Ethan's going to have to bleach his eyes for another 9 weeks.
I'm not watching this game. I refuse.
Dylan's gonna have another root canal. I may have another lobotomy performed on me, but
I might just drink the bleach this time. I don't even know.
I wish they would just continue with at least moving some guys before the snap in motion and spreading out just a little bit. You don't need to have 2 tight ends on the field all the time. At least have 3 receivers on the field to give your offense some space. So it'd be nice to try to see this offense grow off last week. But we'll see. And Rutgers only having 1 scholarship quarterback on the roster. I don't know if that's their starter or if it's their backup, but 1 scholarship quarterback is less than ideal.
That's like Fleck's first year when Annexstead came in on a freaking walk-on and he took over the starting role.
Oh, he was not good.
He just checked it up and hoped for the best.
Oh, he was awful. And then you know what? More than likely, this Iowa defense will probably do enough to get him a win. It could be an ugly 13-9, 13-6 game.
7-4.
Yeah, something goofy like that. I mean, I remember the first time Iowa played in Rutgers when they were in the Big Ten, they lost out there, so they're trying to get their first win in New Jersey. So
no, they won in 16.
No, they lost in 16.
No, Iowa won that game. I'm pretty sure. Because that was right after the NDSU loss.
Yeah, you're right. It was an ugly win, but they won there. That's right. And then they blew the brakes off of a night game. But we'll see. I mean, like Ethan said, there could be 22 punts in this game.
And they're both really good punters.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 14-7 win.
That's right. It was just an ugly win. That's right.
And it was, I believe it was saved by a Desmond King. He had like a strip as I feel like I remember seeing he had like a strip as Rutgers was about to score at one point.
Yeah, Desmond King saved that day. I do remember that.
Well, he that guy was a stud.
Mm-hmm.
He was good.
And yeah, so we'll see. That's going to be a rough game. I haven't decided if I want to watch that or not, but
Dylan, I'm going to look out. I'm going to look out what's best for you. Do not watch that game.
Yeah, save yourself, Bob.
If we only get 13, 14 weeks of regular season college football. Save yourself and don't waste your time watching this game. If Iowa's offense somehow puts it together like they did last year against Maryland, where you're like, they practiced, I will text you and I will tell you to go to FS1. But if I do not text you, know that it's bad and do not go to that game.
Okay. All right. Well, there are a couple other good ones around the league, I think. I think this Clemson Wake Forest game, I think that one's going to be a good one. Clemson's a 7-point
quarterback back.
Hartman, yeah, he got back. I think this is going to be his third game.
Okay.
That one, that looks like a good game. We'll see. That's those two, because those two are in the same conference.
Same division, yeah.
Or same division, yeah. That could be some positioning for the who plays in Charlotte at the end of the year. We'll see if DJ Uyunglele can shake off some of his struggles that he's had. And I think this game comes down to who plays better at the quarterback position, either DJ or Sam Hartman.
Mm-hmm.
Is it at Clemson or at Wake Forest?
It's at Wake Forest. It's right away at 10 o'clock on ABC. I don't even know where game day is this week.
Tennessee, Florida.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, hey, that's nice work on the transition there, because that was the next game I had down. Tennessee is a 10.5-point favorite.
Why are they ranked 11?
Because college football is not that deep this year. They're undefeated and they score a lot of points, and they're in the South.
And
that's pretty stupid.
I wouldn't be shocked if this game gets ugly in Tennessee's favor. I know there's not a lot of history that would suggest that, but
Richardson's not good.
Richardson is not. We were talking about him as a dark horse Heisman candidate, but
it's dead.
He doesn't even have a passing touchdown this year.
That's insane for how good he looked versus Utah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that was just a classic game where, unfortunately, Utah let them have a couple long runs, and they couldn't finish inside the 5-yard line.
It was almost like a peak Tim Tebow type game. Never throws his fucking shit, but goes and runs it 4 times.
But that one, yeah, that one I think is the two we just mentioned are probably my favorite lines. I like Wake Forest to cover, I think. And I think I like the over in that Wake Forest game. I think I saw it at like 55.
Yeah, there's going to be some points in that game.
Yeah. And the only bet that I have placed right now is North Carolina as a 1.5 underdog versus Notre Dame. Because I don't think Notre Dame North Carolina's going to put up points. I don't think Notre Dame doesn't have the offense to put up points. They don't have the elite skill guys. Tommy Reese is going to get fired. Notre Dame has a lot of that defense will keep them in the game, but I don't see a way of how Notre Dame has enough to score with them. I just don't.
Even if Carolina only scores 27 or 24, I don't know if Notre Dame can put up. Again, this North Carolina defense is awful.
Yeah.
So if there's a week that Notre Dame's offense, but then also you play Marshall and Cal and you still barely get over 24. You don't even crack 24 points. So if North Carolina, if they get to 28, I think this game's over. I think that's the magic number for them.
Well, I think the biggest emphasis North Carolina should do this week, red zone defense. Let them move the ball 20-20. You keep them out of the end zone. Trust your offense enough to score enough points, and that'll win them the game.
And I would agree.
Another couple,
A&M plays
A&M plays Arkansas at Jerry World. I don't know how good Arkansas. This game is going to be. I don't know what to think of this, because I don't think Arkansas is as good as we thought. Cincinnati doesn't look as good at this year. They're still they're more of a rebuild instead of a reload. Arkansas needed a punt return touchdown, and they trailed the majority of the game against Missouri State. I saw on who was it? Brandon Walker say that he wouldn't. He thinks Arkansas is going to lose their next 4 games because they have A&M, Mississippi State, Alabama, and BYU. I think. I know it's 3 of those 4 for sure. I can't remember.
Yeah, you nailed it.
But I thought it was.
I think Alabama's next. Is Alabama next week?
It's Alabama, Mississippi State, then BYU.
Yeah.
BYU.
And yeah, that's a big stretch for them.
4 on the road.
Yeah, 3 of the 4 on the road, right?
Yeah, they're going across country to BYU.
And I bet the Alabama game is in Bryant-Denny.
No, that's in Razorback Stadium.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yep, it's at home. Yep.
Mississippi I thought State, they played BYU, there last year.
We're on the road.
Home game though. I think they're playing A&M in Dallas, so that's neutral site. But yeah, to Ethan's point, then you got to go out to Provo and play in that altitude. BYU took down Baylor at home this year, so that's a team I would not want to play on the road against.
They sure got shit stomped versus freaking Oregon though.
Oh yeah, I think they were living off their high of beating Baylor, and then I think Oregon kind of calmed down and realized, hey, Georgia's a good team, but let's maybe press here, and Oregon might be able to compete for a Pac-12 title this year still.
Yeah. There's that it's very. I think right now USC looks far and above everybody else in the Pac-12. I think Utah's going to have something to say about that here in a couple of weeks, but right now USC looks like the team to beat in the Pac-12 for sure.
That'll be a fun one versus Oregon State.
Yeah,
I think with you, it's kind of just like Michigan. You have to sit back and say, how good are they? They haven't played anyone yet, especially that USC defense.
The defense is the biggest question mark for sure.
Oregon State and then Utah, they'll eventually. Those teams could, especially Utah, they could put up some points.
So that game's up in Corvallis this weekend. I mean, weird things happen up there sometimes.
Weird things do, especially with that turnover chainsaw the Beavers got.
God, terrifying.
Well, and then their stadiums, I think, is still getting renovated too, and it looks all weird. They only have fans on one side because the other side's getting renovated. I think I saw that week 1 or week 0.
Okay.
I don't know. Weird things happen in the Pacific Northwest, and NDSU plays South Dakota. They go down to Vermilion. Try not to have a letdown after losing to Arizona. Don't let one bad week become 2. They haven't lost 2 straight games since 2009 or 10, which is a wild stat. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. I expect NDSU to take care of business. They always seem to be really good off a loss. That's a good coaching staff they got over in Fargo. We'll move over to the week 3 preview of the NFL. Lions, Vikings. And kicking off the start of the games. And the Chiefs play at the same time on CBS. Lions, Vikings. Vikings open as a 6-point favorite at home at US Bank. The Lions coming off a good win against the Commanders. This could be a early possible game that could decide playoff positioning. I think both these teams have the potential to make the playoffs, and we'll see. Vikings. I like the Vikings at home. I've always seemed to play very well. They really get behind that home crowd. But I think the Vikings are able to win this. I think Lions keep this game close, but definitely going to be a fun game in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I think it'll be back and forth, but if you're the Vikings, you got to get Cook going. I mean, he had a decent, okay game versus Green Bay, but it was never like one of his patented 40, 50-yard runs. It was just maybe 12 was his longest or something like that. It wasn't like Dalvin. And then obviously last week they just abandoned the run. It seemed like being into the game. So he's what made Kirk Cousins better. The more you establish the run, the easier it is for Kirk.
Well, I think the part of it is I think the Vikings just need to make a commitment to the run game, which feels like they just quite haven't these first two games under O'Connell. But I think this is a week where, because I know the Lions are going to try to grind games out, so possessions are going to be limited. So I think it's important the Vikings establish that run early.
Yeah.
Well, and if there's one team throughout his career that Dalvin has just feasted on, it's been the Lions.
Yeah.
So he just kind of has the Lions number, but then also with the Vikings, unlike in week one, I want to see this pass rush again get after the opposing team's quarterback, because Jalen, he just had too much time on Monday. And I feel like if you make Jared uncomfortable and you get to him, he's going to throw you a pass or two. And then, in these division games, you get a couple turnovers in a short field. Good things will happen, and they should be able to win this game. So I want to see Daniil, Zadarius, Harrison Phillips, and these guys just get after it again.
Yeah, and move over. Same game. It's going on at CBS at 11.
Charge my phone.
It is Chiefs, Colts. I guess you could say the Chiefs are going back to the scene of the crime a little bit here, going back to the 2013 playoff game where brings up some bad memories for Grant, which we've already brought up a few earlier in the show. But Colts looking for that first win. They're 0-1-1. Chiefs looking to go for 3-0. This is as close to a must-win game for the Colts as it can get. And luckily for them, their division isn't weak. No one's going to run away with that division. I think right now the only team that has a win would be the Jags.
Yep.
So, but the Colts just have looked off so far this year, and I think they're becoming the Falcons of the AFC, where talent's there, they just don't put it on the field.
Well, and I know last week, Shaquille Leonard, Darius, changed his name in the offseason. I don't believe he's played yet this year. I know he didn't play last week. And that's a big loss for him, because, he's the maniac and he gets that defense going. And then also, for some reason, Jonathan Taylor in this running game, this offense, hasn't been able to click yet. And when you lose Michael Pitt Jr., who doesn't play last week, who's your other big threat receiver on the outside who's going to create yards for your offense and get you the ball down the field in these big chunk plays? Because, and then return on the defensive end, when you hire Gus Bradley as your defensive coordinator, you're going to give up yards. You're going to sit back and play that Seattle cover 3. Andy's played this 1,000 times. He knows where to attack it and where not to attack it. So Andy's going to move the ball, and the Chiefs offense is going to move the ball. It's just, can the Colts stop the Chiefs in the red zone, and can this offense get going? Matt Ryan's thrown an interception in both games, and if he gives a free possession up or two against the Colts, I think it could potentially be a long day. And I think it opened up yesterday at 6.5.
Yep.
For the Chiefs. I don't know if that has changed or not, but I'll say guarantee right now, if Matt Ryan throws 2 to the Chiefs, they're going to get that 6. They're going to cover that 6.5 easy.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are 3-0, and Colts are 0-2-1, and they're still going to be looking for that first win. There's just nothing about the Colts that gives me any reason to believe in them so far, and a team we both picked to win the AFC South.
Well, because no hope in Houston. I mean, I think a lot of year thought Bryce Young, Will Anderson might be going there next year. The Jags, should have been a better team. And the Titans, they just lost a lot. And then before the year, when Harold Landry's out, your best pass rusher from the year before, and Derek coming off that Liz Frank, it was almost like Colts by default.
Yep.
And it hasn't worked out through 2 games yet. But they're back at home. It's their home opener. Maybe this Indy crowd will give them a little juice that they need. But, if you ask me to put money on it right now for a team who's going to win, I think the Chiefs are going to win this game on Sunday.
For sure. And then the Titans, they both, well, who they play the Raiders. That's a huge game too. Which
both teams.
If whoever loses that game, you can just cross them off. They're done. They're not making the playoffs. Their season's virtually over.
Yeah,
0-3 is hard to come back from. But yeah, I think the Colts could be thrown into that as well. It's their season's done. They're just playing for pride in a draft pick. And there's probably the game of the week is Packers-Bucks. We'll see. Green Bay is going to have another tough test going down to Tampa. It's going to be hot.
They'll be wearing the green.
Yep, they'll be wearing the green. I want to say Tampa is a 3.5-point favorite here. Oh no, that game
was it a point and a half?
It's a point. It's down to a point. The Bucks are a 1-point favorite.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. They look like they finally got a run game going. The receivers and Aaron still are not. They don't look overly great. They still look like they're a little bit out of sync.
I think that's going to take until at least October.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
If not, later October.
And then the Sunday night game is going to be a good one. It's old QB matchup of the NFC West, 49ers Broncos. We'll see. Nathaniel Hackett was labeled the czar of the Packers red zone offense last year, and Aaron Rodgers spoke highly of him. And then it was on the Sunday night broadcast where he talked about what him and Nathaniel Hackett meant was they drank whiskey and played ping pong together. That's why they were such good friends, because Nathaniel Hackett looks like he has no idea how to be a head coach.
Oh, not at all. He looks lost out there.
And that game is in Denver. San Francisco is actually a 1.5-point favorite here.
Call me crazy, guys. Right now, I think with this Niners team, with Jimmy G as the quarterback, they're better suited to win this year.
They are. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because he already has those chemistry with those receivers.
Yeah, and
what happened with Trey is completely. It's unfortunate. It's a freak injury. That guy, it just seems like at this rate now, he's just gonna be one that could just never get going. Didn't get to play. He had a great 2019 year in college. Didn't throw an interception.
Mm-hmm.
And and then 2020 year they had the one game, and then he was a rookie last year behind Jimmy G. It's just he just hasn't played, and he needs those reps. And he's unfortunate that he got hurt, and hopefully he's able to bounce back from it, because I really want to see how well he does, because I think there's definitely potential. Mm-hmm. But right now, Grant, you're 100% correct that this 49ers team is ready, and Jimmy G is loved in that 49ers locker room.
Absolutely.
Not to say that Trey isn't, because I think it seems like he is, but those guys love Jimmy G, and they're going to play hard for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were a drop interception and a torn thumb ligament away from a Super Bowl last year with Jimmy G as their quarterback. So they're hungry and they're ready. And like what Ethan brought up earlier today, the NFC is kind of wide open. So we don't know what to think this year. The Niners are thinking, why not us? Why not? And if they can win these next two games, boys, at Denver and then Monday night against the Rams, and if you're sitting 3-1, watch out, NFC. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. And last game of the weekend to cap it off is Dallas Giants on Monday night. Giants are a 2.5-point favorite,
which I don't understand.
I don't either. I think key to this game is if Dallas can shut down Saquon, they're going to shut down the whole Giants offense. Dallas, they just need to, like we said, what Cooper Rush did is manage the game, keep them in it, don't turn the ball over, just do their job, just commit to the run, make defenses can get stops, force a couple of turnovers, which Danny Dimes likes to do, and they're going to be 2-1, and they'll be right behind the Eagles, who I don't even know who they play, but I'm sure they'll be 3-1 this week. They play here. They go to Washington, play the Commanders.
That's what I thought.
They play the Redskins.
Carson gets to play his own team or his old team, and
yeah, Redskins forever, Ethan.
Yep, 100%.
And Rams Cardinals, that one might be interesting. I know Grant's gonna have his eyes glued to Texans Bears.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And
that there. That's an awful college game.
That would be like 2014 Michigan Northwestern bad. It's going to be that way, which we're not going to talk about, which gives us a good reason to transition over to Curveball of the Week, which yours truly has this week. And this, I'm interested to see this one because we're going to go with, we all know insufferable fan bases, but what is the worst fandom combo between? So these are the teams: is college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA, MLB.
Oh,
the worst combination of, like, if one person cheered for these 5 teams, would just not be a fun person to be around.
Okay, so pretty much of those 5 teams, if one person said my favorite team was one from each league, then we just couldn't talk to them?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, boy. Shoot, that's a good one.
All right, I'll go.
Yeah, Ethan, you got something?
Yeah. I'm going to start out east a little bit here. We're going the Packers and Badgers because whole state, if it got nuked, I'd be happy. So let's go those two.
Those people.
We need an NBA team, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're going West Coast. We're going Lakers. I absolutely despise them. How you can't win more than 40 games with LeBron and Anthony Davis is beyond me. And then we're doing MLB.
Yep.
MLB, NFL. Oh yeah, you did the NFL.
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. Yankees. Let's be real.
And then college basketball.
Yeah, and then college basketball. Duke. I think I just created the devil himself. Like right there, those 5.
You mentioned that because every Duke fan is a Yankee fan, and those
a Lakers fan
is a Lakers fan. Yeah, it's just
they're just awful.
It's like the circle of being a douche. Like it's just it's peak douche.
It is. Yeah, those are just truly some awful people. But yeah, I'm gonna start off right where you left off. College basketball, Duke. Can't stand those.
Just the name just pisses me off.
They think they're better than us. Let's never forget that Coach K's wife put a child in a closet.
For months on end. Unbelievable.
They were living in some weird country in Southeast Asia. So yeah, Duke, the Yankees. Aaron Judge, cool. You have 60 home runs, and ESPN is just gargling all over him right now. How about Albert? Let's show him some love for going for 700 career home runs. And also, with these Yankee fans, you play in a softball field in Yankee Stadium, so half these home runs wouldn't count. But yeah, Yankees fans, they're arrogant, they're smug, they think they're better than us because they live in New York and they have big pizza, and rats run around their street all the time.
It's ridiculous.
From New York. And then an NFL fan base, it's got to be the Raiders fans. I mean, again, we're watching the History Channel. These guys, they're talking about the silver and black and back when the NFL was good and blah blah blah. Yeah, back when you put stickum on your hands and you were able to hammer and beat the hell out of the wide receiver in front of you.
Yep.
It's like you guys haven't done anything since you got embarrassed in the Super Bowl in 2000 against the Bucs, and they think they're all cool with their black hole and all this other stuff. And it's like, no, you guys play in Vegas now. You guys aren't true Raiders fans.
You're not a fan of this?
It's overrated. It's not that cool. It's middle-aged white men who are stuck, like I said, in the past, watching, when the Raiders were good, and they haven't been relevant for 25 years.
True.
So, Raiders there, Duke, the Yankees, and then I need what? A college football, and then an MLB, NBA. Sorry. So college football. Kind of another team just along the lines of the Raiders, where they're living in the past and they think they're better than us. The Miami Hurricanes. These fans want to throw you this, you that, and it's like, well, when's the last good pro you guys put in the league? It's been over 20 years since that last good U team in 01. They're fair weather fans. They think they're better than us because they live in South Florida. Don't like them at all. And then for the NBA, I got to go to the Sixers.
Ooh.
I don't like the people of Philadelphia. I've never trusted the process you told me to trust. And these people, they're arrogant and they're smug. And their basketball team's not that good. It's a representation of the city. They're all bark and no bite. And I just don't like people from Philadelphia. So I'll go Sixers, Hurricanes, Duke, the Raiders, and the Yankees.
I was a little bit shocked by the Sixers one. I thought maybe since Ben Simmons had left there, I thought they were irrelevant. I thought you would also go like Ethan with the Lakers, but Sixers are interesting. The college football team, I wasn't sure where you were gonna go because there's about like 4 or 5 teams you can't stand. I thought it could have been. I could have went Nebraska. It could have went Miami. It could have went USC. It could have went Iowa State.
Wisconsin.
So Miami is the one that really gets to you, huh?
Correct.
Okay.
Because it's kind of just like the Raiders fans into a point in Nebraska. They're living off the past. You guys haven't done anything in these last 10 years. And then you get in prime time last week and you get beat up by an A&M team who's not that good. And then just the smugness of South Florida. It's like, cool. You were born in a cooler state than I. That doesn't mean you're a better person, like what they think they are. So I don't like the Hurricanes, and I don't like their fans.
Okay, fair enough. Well, did you see what their quarterback said? He likes playing on the road because there's actually an atmosphere.
Exactly. So I really shouldn't pick Miami fans because there is no fans.
Yeah, I mean, you do get it. I'll give you a do-over. So if you want a chance to redo it, you can pick a new team. But if not, we'll go over to mine.
I'm gonna stick with the Canes and their fans.
Okay.
I do hate them.
Okay. Well, so for me, college basketball, just like you guys, Duke, just insufferable, rich, daddy's money, think they're better than us, act like their coach is God's gift, but he's actually just the narcissistic a-hole. And well, now he's gone. Which I almost hope that John Shire does better than him, Coach K. Because how bad that would eat at him.
No. I understand that, but then I have to live with Duke fans talking about how great their program is.
But are they actually Duke fans or are they Coach K fans? So I feel like most of them are Coach K fans. You hear a lot of them say that.
We'll find out this year.
And NFL, I would probably have to say the Packers, just because I would normally say Eagles, but there's not a lot of Eagles fans around here.
You're just upset that Dez didn't catch that ball.
Well, he did catch it, and
there's
just so many around here, and
he caught it.
I just can't. They're just so annoying, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm an owner. I own a piece of paper. That doesn't mean a damn thing." Or we're going to the Super Bowl. No, you are not, because you don't play for the team. The team you cheer for is going to the Super Bowl or going to the playoffs, going to the NFC Championship. But so if you want to play that way, we can go. You are losing in the playoffs to the 49ers.
To your point, yeah, you're an owner, but you're an owner in a shitty city and you make $45,000 a year working at the local creamery. Sit down.
You need cheese.
And then NBA, I don't know if I have a fan base. I think it's just LeBron stans that just worship him like he's the greatest player. And I saw a great tweet about this. Was
LeBron's a bitch?
No, well, I'm sure there's plenty of tweets that have that out there, but but the best team in Michael's era was the Bulls. The best team in Kobe's era was the Lakers. The best team in LeBron's era was the Warriors.
Yeah.
And these LeBron stans, they just refuse to admit that the guy is the reason why his teams can't do anything because he thinks he's a GM and he's
he makes Terry Ryan look good at his job.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. MLB Yankee fans, just like everybody you guys said, I don't really need to go into too much detail there. It's just they've caused way too much pain as a Twins fan over the years. And then college football, it's clearly it's Ohio State. Most insufferable fan base, the Ohio State University. You don't own the word the. That's the most common used word in the world.
They said the though, not the.
The same thing. Who gives a shit?
Green jacket, gold jacket. Who gives a shit?
they're those elitists that think they're so much better, and then when things don't go their way, like when they get their ass kicked in the college football playoff, they cry, "Oh, it was the ref's fault. Oh, it was always everybody else's fault." No, it wasn't. Teams were just better than you. You had chances, you lost. And I have to hear about the however many days, and it's done now because Michigan whooped that ass last year, about how many days it was. And then I finally was able to just bring it up like, well, now it's been over 1,000 days since Ohio State beat Michigan last.
It's fair.
So I'm riding high. I don't really care. And it's also very interesting. I have relatives that are Ohio State alums. And this is where it's very interesting for me, is because 2021, it got canceled because of COVID. It happens in the summer every year. And then this year we were supposed to have it, but Michigan beats Ohio State. It decides to get canceled. Very interesting for me. I don't know if we can dig into it. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, or if it just didn't work out or what, but something we might have to keep an eye on, keep track of whenever we have the family reunion next. And we'll end the show with this. The Twins aren't completely dead, but they're basically dead men walking. So we're going to end this show, you guys, with a moment of silence for the Twins season. We had a lot of reasons for hope this year. They let us down like they usually do. Hopefully, but unlikely, probably, Rocco Baldelli will still be the manager next year. But we'll end this show. Ethan, please put your phone down. Let's bow our heads. Let's bow our heads with a moment of silence for the Twins season.